All right, let's talk a little college basketball, and let's start with the two biggest games of the past week. Let's start in the Big East Conference. Marquette at home taking on the defending national champions, Villanova. Villanova was undefeated in conference play heading into this game, and here's the thing. I tried to tell you guys, a couple weeks ago, Marcus Howard, if you don't know, you better ask somebody about this guy. I want to talk about the National Player of the Year race, and I want to give some love to Marcus Howard from Marquette. He has to be in the National Player of the Year race. He just has to. He's must-see television. He's the most exciting scorer in college basketball. He's basically the Steph Curry of college basketball. Huge game against Villanova. 38 points. He had 21 points in the first half when Marquette built the lead for Marquette to eventually beat Nova. And this is now the fifth time this season he scored 37 or more points. Against a pretty athletic, versatile defense in Villanova, Marcus Howard sliced them up. And you look at Howard, he's the driving force behind a dangerous Marquette team that could make some noise in March. And Howard is the type of player that we've seen in the past get hot and carry a team into the Sweet 16, into the Elite Eight. Marquette was a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament mock selection top 16 seeds that came out that we'll talk about in a little bit. So you think about them being a 3 seed, that's all Marcus Howard. And this Marquette team is good enough to make a run, and it's all because of him. You look at Howard's game. He is lethal in ball screen situations. He is elite at knocking down threes off the dribble. The ability to create space, step back, keep the defense off balance, big time. I mean, he's a guy, you got to set your DVR, you got to set a reminder, you got to write yourself a note. You have to make sure you watch this kid play. All I know is Marcus Howard's a big-time college basketball player, and he should absolutely be in the National Player of the Year conversation. Marquette with a big win over Villanova. The other big game, Duke at Virginia. It was such a big game that LeBron James was in attendance to watch this one, and Duke beat Virginia 81-71, and the Young Bucks for Duke, they put on a show for LeBron and company. And think about this. Virginia is known for their half-court defense. I mean, that's Coach Bennett, that pack line defense just gobbles people up. Okay, Duke this weekend, 81 points. They shot 57% from the floor. They made 13 threes, and they shot 23 free throws. I mean, it's scary what Duke did to Virginia. And they completed the season sweep. Virginia beat them at Cameron Indoor, then went on the road this weekend and beat them again. And it's just, basketball is a game of matchups. And Duke's guards are just too big for Virginia's, especially the ball handlers. You look at Zion, 6'7". RJ Barrett, 6'7". Cam Reddish, 6'8". You look at Virginia, Kyle Guy, he's a small 6'2". Ty Jerome, 6'4" or so. So Duke was able to just bully Virginia into the lane, get into the teeth of the defense, finish through contact, kick it out for open threes, get to the free throw line. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If Duke shoots the three the way they did against Virginia, just hand them the national championship. Literally just give it to them. They were 13 of 21 from beyond the arc. If Duke makes threes at a clip like that, forget about it. Everybody's playing for second place. Because if you think about how do you beat Duke? Well, a huge part of it is forcing them to take a bunch of three-point jump shots because they don't shoot it great as a team percentage-wise. So that's a big part of the plan. You look at the two teams that have beat them, Syracuse and Gonzaga. Duke struggled to knock down threes in both of those games. So to see them knock down 13 threes against a defense like Virginia is scary. The three-headed monster of Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish is brutal. I love Trey Jones. I think he's one of the best glue guys in all of college basketball. They check all the boxes. And I thought it in November, and I still think it today. Duke is dramatically more talented than the rest of the country in college basketball, and that talent was on display against Virginia. Duke sweeps Virginia for the season with 2 wins over the Cavaliers. The other big news with college basketball, the NCAA selection committee released their top 16 seeds, which I like because it gives a window into what the committee is thinking and seeing. We have all these bracketologists and all this talk. Well, let's get a window, a snapshot into what the committee is seeing right now. Now, obviously, there is a ton of basketball still to be played. So this can change a ton, but I enjoy it. First of all, it sparks discussion for people like myself. But if I'm a coach or a player or a team, I like to get a sense of where I stand coming down the final month of the season to know what the situation is, not only how I'm viewed as a team, how the conference is viewed, how maybe some teams that are going to be on their schedule later on in the season are viewed. So I really like that the committee comes out with this top 16 seeds with about a month to go. My reaction to it, I thought the committee nailed it in all reality. I thought they got the teams right. That was going to be the big thing I was looking for, are the right teams in there. And I thought they were. You look at the 1 seeds, they make sense. There are 4 teams that have really separated themselves, both from the eye test and the metrics and the resume. Duke, Tennessee, Virginia, Gonzaga. Those are your top 4 seeds right there. Duke, the number 1 overall seed, which again, I agree with. And then beyond that, the committee also confirmed what we already know. The ACC and the Big Ten are the best conferences in America. 4 ACC teams, including 2 number 1 seeds, are in the top 16 seeds. There are 4 Big Ten teams in the top 16, which, again, that bodes well for a lot of bids from those conferences because the middle of those conferences should rise because of the strength of the top. 3 other quick takeaways with the top 16 seeds. How about the non-power conference flavor? You got Gonzaga as a 1 seed. You got Houston as a 3 seed, really good team. Kelvin Sampson's done a great job there. And then Nevada's at a 4 seed, and I love Nevada. They're old, experienced, tough, versatile. The Martin brothers are great. Jordan Caroline's a stud. But it's pretty cool to see little non-power conference love in the top 16. And then if you said, Nick, if you had to pick one team that you maybe have a gripe with being in the top 16, I'd maybe look in the Big 12 and look at Iowa State. They have 6 losses, which is quite a bit. They don't have a bunch of great non-conference wins either. They did beat Ole Miss. They do have wins in conference play on the road at Texas Tech, and they did beat Kansas at home. But if I had to circle one team and say, I'm going to poke some holes into what they've done, both from who they've beaten and what my eyes tell me, Iowa State would probably be that team. But that's still a pretty good team in Ames. And then the last takeaway, no Pac-12 teams represented in the top 16 seeds. Really think about that. Not one Pac-12 team, which tells me the Pac-12 might be a 1-bid league, which is just crazy to say out loud when you think about the pedigree of that conference with UCLA and Arizona. The league is way down, and the ratings that we saw reflect that. Speaking of the NCAA tournament, let me give you a few sleepers, a few teams that you need to have your eye on and watch here for the next month, so when that bracket comes out, you know who you need to be advancing in your bracket. Let's start in the Big 12, and let's go with Kansas State. Listen, this team, Bruce Weber's team in Manhattan, is in the driver's seat to win the Big 12 right now. The Wildcats could easily dethrone Kansas. They beat KU last week, just punked them, forced 23 turnovers, incredibly tough half-court defensive team, 6th ranked defensive efficiency according to Ken Palm. This team's experienced, they're old, they returned everyone on a team that went to the Elite Eight last year, and I don't think they're getting near the attention and the love that they deserve. Dean Wade is a versatile scorer in the post. Barry Brown's a really tough guard. They're athletic. Buy stock now. Kansas State is a team that is rising and could make some noise in March. Another team to keep an eye on, Buffalo. Same sort of story. Mature, experienced. And remember, Buffalo rocked Arizona in the first round of the NCAA tournament last year. And here's the thing, because they don't play in a power conference, people just forget about them. Don't. They won at West Virginia. They won at Syracuse in the non-con. Their only non-con loss was on the road at Marquette, and they ran into a Marcus Howard buzzsaw where he went off for 45 points. There's some nights you just shake the other team's hand and say, what are you going to do? And you think about Buffalo, their 4 leading scorers are seniors. And that's kind of the recipe nowadays. Unless you get Duke's talent, where you have 3 of the top 10 picks in the NBA draft, you want to get old and stay old. And Buffalo is a bunch of grown men. They got NCAA tournament experience. They're balanced. They play really fast. CJ Massenberg's a stud. I love this team. To me, Buffalo's a sleeper you need to keep an eye on come March. And then let's go to the SEC, LSU. This team's flying way under the radar. They've won 12 of their last 13 games. The arrow is trending up. And the biggest reason why I love LSU, let me tell you the best player you probably never heard of. Tremont Waters. Point guard. Stud. 15 points a game, 6 assists, dynamic with the ball in his hands, outstanding vision, super creative scoring the ball, good instincts defensively. He's the type of point guard you need to have success in the NCAA tournament. And I love Waters. This guy's great. He can go toe-to-toe with anyone, and it all starts there, in my opinion, with LSU. But the other thing with LSU, they're super aggressive and will gamble a lot defensively. They rank 7th nationally in steals per game. They average about 9.7 steals a night. That's almost 10 steals a game. So they're really disruptive. They're really good on the offensive glass as well. Tigers rank in the top 10 in offensive rebounding percentage according to KenPom. So they get second chance opportunities. They turn you over. That's a good combination. Watch out for LSU. Last sleeper. Got to go to the ACC. Syracuse. Jim Boeheim, 2-3 zone. Really tough. It's a big team on the front line, at the back of that zone. It's an experienced team. They got a guy in Tyus Battle that can score and close out games. Syracuse owns the best win of the season, beating Duke at Duke. That zone is a nightmare to deal with in the NCAA tournament. They get teams uncomfortable. They get them on their heels. They get them settling for jump shots. Don't sleep on Syracuse. They're a team that can make some noise in March.